there, welcome back to my hot kitchen. I'm Wendy, and we are back with a delicious Southwest style feast to delight your sweetie on your next romantic date night at home. Tonight's feast will get started off with some homemade chili con queso with an assortment of fresh vegetables and of course chips. For the main course, we'll do a budget-friendly yet gourmet chicken in a Rojo sauce with some yam fritters and sauteed vegetables on the side. So let's get started on that chili con queso first. So you want to start with a nice warm pan. To that, add a nice amount of, not that, butter. I want to start with about a tablespoon's worth of butter. And then add to it about a quarter cup or so chopped onions, about half of a jalapeno that has been seeded and diced, and a couple cloves of nice garlic. So let this saute over medium-low heat until you start to see some translucency in the onions. And after that gets going, you'll want to start rehydrating your dried peppers. The key to the chicken and Rojo sauce recipe is going to be some delicious guajillo peppers. I have 3 of them here. I'm just going to soak them for about an hour or so in some nice hot water. I've already got this water warmed up, and now I'm going to crank it up to at least a simmer, just because I want to see the temperature of the water come up to about 210 degrees or so. Well, this is looking fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and add about a tablespoon of flour to this. We're going to make a little bit of roux to make a delicious chili con queso. So just stir in that flour. Let the onions, garlic, and jalapenos finish off. And then let's take a look here at the peppers. You can see that we've got a nice boiling water bath going on. We don't need that to last for long. Just enough time to bring the temperature up. Make sure you dunk the peppers so they get all nice and soaked, and you'll want to periodically check on them, turn them, and rotate them so that they get rehydrated. Back to the chili con queso. Got a nice color going on. It's just starting to turn a little blonde. It's perfect. So I'm going to pull it up off the burner and allow it to cool down a little bit, because the next thing I'm going to add is milk. And you don't necessarily want to add milk to a really hot pan because it can curdle. So allow it a moment to cool off a touch. Because the next thing you want to add is tomatoes, about the equivalent of about 1 Roma tomato. The pulp is invited to this party. It's going to help the pan cool down a little bit more in preparation for adding the milk. You want to avoid adding milk to a very hot pan because it can curdle it, and that's just no good. The sizzling has stopped, so I'm going to go ahead and place the pan back down on the burner and add my ½ cup of milk. I'm going to switch over to a little whisk here and gently whisk the roux into the milk. I'm going to want to bring it up to a boil to allow the thickness of the roux to shine through. That has taken on a beautiful color. There we go. I'm starting to see the bubble come through there from the heat of the boil. Want to let it simmer for about 1 or 2 minutes. That will help to cook out the flavor of the flour. I'm going to stop stirring here for just a second. Kind of level it out. Let the heat do its work. It's nice right there. Then we're going to add to it about a cup of grated Monterey Jack cheese. A little bit at a time. Turn the heat off. You don't necessarily want cheese to boil, you just want it to melt. A nice little stir. You can see it getting all stretchy and fun in there. Let's add in the rest of the cheese. Now there's a variety of cheeses you can use for this. I like Monterey Jack because it's mild and melty. Cheddar, mozzarella, Colby Jack, those would all be great choices. There's also some very nice Mexican cheeses that you can use too. Just make sure you choose one that has nice melting qualities. Whisk it until it turns into one smooth, cheesy glob. Ooh, that's looking really nice. Cheese is just about all melted. It doesn't take much heat to melt it. Just happens. And then add a few drops of your favorite hot sauce. There we go. Fold that in. And then for extra fun, about a half can's worth of black beans. If you're making them from scratch, you'll need about a half cup of prepared black beans. Gently fold those in. Get them all distributed through the cheesy goodness in your pot. And you may find that you want to add a little milk to thin it out. I like it pretty thick. So I'm going to leave it just the way it is. I am going to give it a little taste though. Very nice. You always want to give things a little taste before you serve them just to make sure your seasonings are in balance. And now I'm going to go grab a chafing dish. Any sort of fondue should be served over a source of low heat. Something low-tech like a candle will get the job done just fine. Give it a little light up here. Also helps to add to the ambiance of the date night. Oh, that's nice. Give it a little garnish of fresh chopped cilantro. And then serve it alongside a nice tray of fresh seasonal vegetables and a few chips. It's a nice way to make sure that your sweetie is eating his or her vegetables. Honey!
Here I am.
Oh, hi.
Ooh.
Hey, try out some of that.
That's delicious.
No fake stuff in here. Only the best for my honey. You liked it? Hey.
Kitchen.
And now it's all about the main event, the entree. So let's get the chicken started. I have a half cup of cornmeal and a half cup of flour. I'm just going to blend them together with about a half teaspoon of salt. This is going to be the breading that goes on the outside of the chicken. Flour and cornmeal together is truly one of my favorite ways to bread any sort of meat that's to be seared or fried. Take the chicken, focus mostly on the top face of the breast. Use a bone-in skin-on cut if you can find it. You're going to get better flavor out of it since this is kind of a braise. Roll it in there, kind of press it to make sure it sticks really well. Light little dusting on the back. Now with the breading done, I'm just going to go ahead and give my hands a quick little wash here. Because from here on out I can use the tongs. So I have my saute pan warmed up over here and I'm going to add a nice amount of olive oil to it. And give the pan a nice little swirl here to help that oil heat evenly. And bring in the chicken breasts. Place them skin side down in the oil. Because that's the side that you really want to make sure gets nice and crispy. And adjust your heat to a medium temperature until you hear that nice sizzle and pop. And then while the chicken gets going, start working on the yam fritters. I have approximately a ½ pound yam. Looks a little bit bigger than this, all grated up. And I'm just gonna add it to this water bath that's just started simmering. I'm just gonna blanch the yams very gently for just a few minutes. I'm gonna add a little bit of chopped up onion and a little bit of chopped up garlic in there too. That way as the yams blanch, the onions and garlic will cook with it and infuse them with the flavor. And you wanna be careful that you don't bring this up to a full rolling boil, just a little bubbling. There's a nice little sizzle coming up on the chicken now, so I'm gonna give it a little swirl here just to make sure that olive oil gets to coat all the surfaces on that breast and make a nice golden brown sear on it. Let's see how the yams are doing. They've been blanching for about 3 minutes now at that nice low boil. You wanna pull them when they start breaking apart under the pressure of your finger, but before they turn into a pile of mush, just like they are right now. And before we go much further, we're gonna put another pan on here and get it pre-warming. Let's drain these off. I have a nice little mesh colander here in the sink. I'm gonna pour it all in there. Shake it off a little bit. Let that water come off there. Spread it out, let the steam do the rest of the job of the evaporation. Now we're gonna mix it up. Now add to this about 2 tablespoons of cornmeal, a ½ teaspoon of salt, and about a ½ teaspoon of chili powder. Kind of fold it in there. Make a little well, crack an egg into it. As long as you work quickly, there's no big deal about doing this while the yams are still hot. Give the egg a little beat and then fold it into the yams. Bring it all to one texture, one consistency. Make sure that egg gets all the way through there. It's the binder that holds the fritters together. And while you're stirring and mixing the yam fritters, make sure you get a nice amount of oil going in a saute pan. Be extra special generous because this is actually a pan-fried item. So you need a nice little bath of oil for it to sit in, more than just a thin little layer. And then once your oil's warm, you're ready to shape these up and fry them off. So divide it into about 4 equal portions. I'm going to use a couple spoons here to help me with that. Kind of scoop it up, drop it in. There we go. Fritters are totally okay to be messy and random shaped. The most important thing is to get them all about the same size so they cook at about the same time. They come out with a nice, even, beautiful color across all 4. And see how the oil kind of cinches them together and starts holding them. That's mostly because the egg is cooking in the oil and it's binding the parts of the yam together. And you can come over when you're done, add a little bit more on the top of the ones that look a little lighter than the others to even it out. And let them go. These guys are going to take about 20-25 minutes at least to finish up. Let's get the chicken out of the pan here. So with this recipe, I say just sear the one side. Oh, doesn't that look nice? Pull them out. And work on your sauce. And then Let's start working with those chili peppers. You can see that they've come back to be almost their original form. So now we just need to pull these out. The stem came right out of that one, that's fine. And then we need to pull the stems and cores out of them. So I have a little plate over here to work with. I'm just going to open up the skins, pour out the excess water, and use the back of a spoon to gently scrape out the seeds. I want to use a very gentle touch because there's tons of good flavor locked away inside the pepper. And as I finish them, I'm just going to drop them right in my blender after giving them a little rip up. Pull out that stem, break it open, gently scoop those seeds away. The seeds are what hold a lot of the heat of the pepper. So if you like it extra hot, feel free to add a few seeds in there. Give it a little pre-breakdown. And then I'm working on the last one now. Whoop. Next thing to add is going to be about 4, 5, 6 cloves of garlic, depending on how much you like. Kind of pre-chopped, ready to go. Put that in the blender. And about half an onion, or about half a cup's worth of chopped onion. Then, enough of the water that you steeped the chilies in to almost cover the juice of about a lime. Brighten up the flavors a little bit and add that kind of Southwest flair to it with the lime juice. A nice little ream here. Then about a half teaspoon of salt. And then blend. And you're going to want to puree it for quite a few seconds, as like I said, the skin on this particular type of chili pepper is a bit tough. Having worked with blenders for a lot of time in my life, I know don't run them forever and ever and ever. Work them in like 15 to 30 second windows. If you don't work it in intervals like that, you risk burning out the motor in your blender, and that's no way to have a romantic evening. So what you're really looking for here is for the chunks of peppers to virtually vanish in the sauce and for it all to become one. You want to give it a little taste. Spicy, pungent, rich, delicious, everything it should be. Now you'll note that we put in raw onions and garlic, so you're going to want to let it cook for a while to kind of stew those flavors together. Go ahead and add it back into that pan that you were cooking the chicken in. Add the chicken back in with that beautiful crusty side up. And then cover it and let it simmer until the chicken's done. Let's take a little look here at these yummy fritters. You know they're ready to flip when you pull them up with a spatula and they hold together. Give them a gentle flip. Careful not to splash oil on yourself by flipping them away from your general direction. And handle them gently. Ooh, those look tasty. We'll swirl, love them up a little bit. Hit them with a touch of salt on the top. And there you go. You're just waiting for them to finish. Let's check on the fritters. Follow the same rule with the back side as you do for the front. If they lift up in one even piece, they should be done. Just drain them out on some sort of paper. go. Wow, those look great. How fun. And then in my instance, I'm going to need to drain off this pan here. So I'm going to put the oil and whatever's left of the yams in a nice heat-proof little dish here. I'm going to re-up with a little fresh olive oil. Then we're going to saute some veggies. The chicken's just about done. By the time the veggies are done, the chicken will be done. Life is going to be good. Give a little swirl here to warm up that oil. Just a nice simple assortment. I'm using a lot of the same vegetables that I used on the queso fondue. I mean the chili con queso. A little zucchini, little yellow pepper, little red onion. Keep it nice and simple with a little salt, a little pepper, a little bit of leftover lime juice for brightness. And then just saute these up till they're done. And then let's check on the chicken. Oh, it's hot. Best way to know if your chicken's done is, of course, a temperature check. You want to reach temperature minimum 160 degrees, but don't take it over 170 or else your chicken will be dry. This is just about there, a couple more minutes. The timing's going to be great on that. Take a look here and see how this chicken's doing. It's a hot handle. Ooh, yeah. Get a little temperature check here. All good. 160 right on the dot. So I'm going to pull these out now. I'm going to put the chicken breasts on the plate first. Let's take a look at the sauce here. You can see how thick the sauce got. At some points it's almost burning to the bottom of the pan. Not a big deal. It's exactly why you should save the water that you steep the chilies in. Add that in just a little bit. Give it a light little stir here. Bring it back down to a saucy consistency. Yum. I'm just going to take that, pour it on the plate underneath the chicken. Just a little on top. Nice little pool there, a couple little dribbles on top. Don't worry about scraping the bottom of the pan. Let's add the fritters to the party. Some veggies, slide those in right there. That looks like a good spot. And a couple more items to finish off the garnish. What would Southwest cuisine be without some black beans? And a little cilantro. Touch of yummy cheese. Done. And just like that, you took your sweetie out to dinner at a very nice Southwest restaurant. And you got an appetizer to boot. Now wine, pair this with something kind of sweet, but not over the top sweet. Think Riesling, maybe a nice blush, or perhaps even a Gewürztraminer. And call in your sweetie. Arriba!
Day meal at home.
So much better staying at home.
Look at that. That looks just.
That beautiful.
That looks just so scrumptious.
Oh, me too.
Heavenly. So good. This is such a hot kitchen.
So thanks for joining me in my hot kitchen tonight. Have fun turning up the heat in your kitchen, and I'll see you next week. Night night. Pet the kitties.